That hurt.
I'm tuned in like crazy, and I'm pretending like I know what they're doing, and I'm,
articulate and intelligent.
Gregg's a bitch. That's all.
I find them offensive as hell.
I've never been a fan.
Yeah, fuck them.
Ooh, terrible! Bad! Not bad! Oh, pretty good. Okay, decent, fair, great. I loved it.
This sucks. Yeah, you really gotta wonder how this stuff gets made.
Welcome to the Straight Red Card. We're back. That was a little bit more. Welcome to the Straight Red Card. It's just me, Brett, and D-Rec, all here together for the first time in 11 years. And second time in 11 years. Sorry about that. We just did another show before this. D-Rec's not going to say much. He's taking a nap or something behind me. But I did buy him a hat.
Eyes open, man. He's always alert.
He is always alert. He sleeps with his eyes open. He's always looking.
You learned that in the military, right?
Well, he's always looking for boobies.
Fair enough.
So, so this is all about why Gregg Berhalter
turned upside down.
No.
So you're not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, huh?
I'm not. No. Man, rapping has just gone way beyond that level. I mean, that's like a kindergartner could do that now. I mean, that's like
it's classic, Derek.
That's how your white grandpa raps now. You know, I could be a white grandpa, but I even rap better than that. Which I prove it on.
You might be a white grandpa soon. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think either of them. One of them's married, but I don't think that.
I'd like to say congratulations. They got out of their teens without having a pregnancy, so that's good.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it. Well, Chris was lucky to get out of his teens because he's a good-looking kid, and he was doing some stuff we didn't even know about that he jokes about now. But yeah, right, exactly. Whereas Nick was a quiet, sort of introverted kid. Not a lot going on there, but that's okay. Hey, man, he has his. Well, anyhow, I'm not going to talk about Nick.
Let's not talk about it. Let's not go into detail about your kids. I mean, exactly what address do your kids live at now?
So, this show is all about the fact that Gregg Berhalter ain't coaching this Gold Cup team because it's crap. That's why.
So yeah, it was announced during the Mexico game of Nations League that Berhalter's coming back, and then the very next day after we slaughtered Mexico, he had a presser. Talked about coming back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, I guess the big question at that point is why, if you already have him in place, he's been the U.S. men's national team coach, why not bring him in a Gold Cup, right?
I kind of agree with Lawless on this. I can't believe I'm saying that.
We don't know yet. We'll see.
Okay, we'll post it up.
Because we've sent text messages.
I've already read it earlier today, and I agree with him. I agree with some of what he says. I don't agree the way he delivers the message. But weaker U.S. men's national team is okay. Alexi, I'm unable to find any thoughtful insight into why Gregg Berhalter is not managing the team in the Gold Cup. Your take. My take would be, before you give Alexi's, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember exactly what he said. But my take was, why would Gregg Berhalter want to come back and coach this team? Because this team
that's the gig.
This team sucks. It's going to make you look like shit.
Okay, so yes, you're basically paraphrasing what Lawless does say. We'll go into more detail with this.
But I already thought about that.
Here's the thing, though. He had a Gold Cup 2 years ago with not the exact same squad, but more or less the same squad. And yes, I think the Gold Cup that he won the Gold Cup with last time would beat this team.
Yes, it would. This is a worse team.
I'm just saying, it's got several players that he's coached before, so it's not like he's just pulling scrubs out of the woodwork. And I don't think if Berhalter picked this roster, do you think it'd be that much different?
No, but I think that Berhalter would rather beat up on Uzbekistan and Oman than get beat up by Jamaica and Mexico.
So you're saying you'd be fine with him coaching this weaker squad if he had started back at January.
No, I think he should be coaching the squad and take the embarrassment. But I know why he's not doing it. And I think that's what Alexi's saying, although I don't know if that's what he's saying.
Okay.
I'm saying he doesn't want to take – U.S. Soccer does not want to have him face the embarrassment because there are people like us, Brett, and others who are on his ass. And funny enough, if Berhalter did coach this team and they got slaughtered or they lost or they went out in the semis or whatever, I'd be like, well, look who he was coaching.
Yes, 100%.
So I'd give him a pass.
But, I mean, you got
unless they play Berhalter ball the whole time.
Well, and that's the big
which
question,
they would, because these players have no chemistry.
Zero, yeah.
Zero chemistry.
Well, hopefully at that point you don't play Berhalter ball and you just go out there and you play your best players you have available to you at that point.
There ain't much to pick from here. This is slim pickings.
Yeah, I would have made we talked about this on Monday, but we would have made a couple changes to the lineup from the get-go. But as a whole,
Cowell instead of Morris.
I would have started Neal over Long any day of the week.
Ferreira does not play center forward. You start Vasquez.
I would start Vasquez. And if you want to throw Ferreira as the quote unquote 10, I would start Ferreira over Sonora. Probably wouldn't have initially though, because I want to see what Sonora can do, but I haven't been really impressed so far.
Yeah, because he's not impressive. You just have to watch the few minutes he's got it and doesn't play. Just look at how he does not play for Juarez in Mexico. He doesn't play for a team that's really not that great.
Yeah,
in Mexico. So if he can't make that team, it's no surprise that he went out there and didn't play very well for us. Number one, plus he has no chemistry with the other players on the team at all. He's very rarely got chances with us. And the only guys that really know each other really well are the Yedlins and the Roldans and the Longs. And I mean, Neal and Miazga too, but Miazga's been out of the picture forever. Neal's,
Greg was coaching this time.
Brand
Miazga
new.
wouldn't have been included.
Yeah.
We have zero evidence that Berhalter has actually forgiven Miazga for kicking his dog.
We really don't
allegedly.
know. Right. Tolkien, he doesn't know anything about playing with these guys. And I want to see the new guys. So if we're going to play with a team with no chemistry, let's go all the way. No more Long, no more Roldan, no more Morris.
U23s. Bring in the Olympic squad that's going to play next summer.
Bring more of those guys in. Yes.
Why not?
I mean, there are other guys.
Bring in Craig. Bring in McGlynn.
By the way,
why
the fuck is Gressel on this team?
Who?
Yeah, Gutierrez. Why is Gressel on this fucking team?
Why? Dude, I don't know.
I mean, this is such a stupid team. No wonder he doesn't want to coach it. I mean, it's a poor team.
He was reaching out, once he was announced, like, hey BJ, why did you include Gressel? I did that once, and I got rid of him afterwards, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the sad thing is this is the best Americans in MLS. These are the best players we've got.
No.
You can't be serious about that. It must be better than this somehow in an imaginary world, but apparently it isn't. Which, there are players. I like Abed. I like your guy Gutierrez. There are other guys out there that might have gotten a chance.
Who's the kid from New England? The young kid from New England.
Oh, yeah. Him too. I like him too.
Yeah. I guess my point, and we can even go back to the Monday show when we brought up Gooch talking about how the Camp Cupcake squad couldn't beat the U20s.
U20 team, yeah.
So why don't we bring in some more of the U20s instead of even the U23s? I mean,
why doesn't DeJuan Jones
could make a difference and could actually use the experience?
Why doesn't DeJuan Jones get a shot?
Yeah.
Why do we got to watch Yedlin play? We know what Yedlin is. We know what he is. We've seen it. He's a lesser player than he was 4 years ago. He's not the same player. So I don't know. I mean, that's why I understand what Lawless is saying here, at least when I remember what he said, which I read it like 2:00 today, and I don't remember what it was.
On your phone with the squiggly lines because I took.
Yeah, exactly. I had to blow it up. I was taking a shit too in the bathroom. I was trying to. I'm like, I don't know. it was hard to read, but I got the gist of what he was trying to say. And this is one time where I actually think he makes sense. I mean, it's almost like he's speaking truth. He's revealing something truthful that he might know behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and Pete even talked about this on a quote tweet. He's like, we've been saying this for how long about the USSF protecting Berhalter and all that stuff, and we've been labeled toxic. Now somebody in the mainstream is saying it, and people are like, what? You know? So, I mean,
it's not surprising.
I'm not, it's like, I'm not disagreeing with Lawless's take in the sense that I'm disagreeing with USSF's take.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, why protect him? I mean, if you really were authentic and real and you had a big pair of fucking mama balls, you would not protect Gregg here. You'd say you go out now and coach the fucking team. That's what we hired you for. Like, you think that if Bruce Arena ran U.S. soccer, he'd be like, oh, no, we're going to protect you, Gregg. We're going to leave you out of this little Gold Cup thing. Okay?
We're going to get a couple mean tweets, so let's not go that route. BJ, you don't mind taking the knives in the back, right?
He'd be like, put on your big boy boots and go out there and do the job. Mm-hmm. But we don't live in an old school world anymore, Brett. We live in a world where we don't want Gregg to have his feelings hurt. And U.S. soccer is getting extremely sensitive about the fan base being pretty much aggravated now, which they did. They did that. They aggravated by being inauthentic, by saying this was the most toughest hiring process, the most strenuous, the most,
thorough,
with brain tests,
super
and all
duper transparency. Don't worry, we hired Gregg. Oh no, we interviewed 10 other fuckers, but we brought Gregg back in because he was the best.
But it turned out some of those other motherfuckers didn't want to come here, lay on a fucking bed, and have electrodes attached to their nutsack and their temples while they're asked questions. You know? Yeah. And seriously, they didn't want to go through that stress because they're like, look at my resume, bitch. But no, Gregg got the job, and they lied about the process. It wasn't thorough. It wasn't extensive.
Could you imagine if Betty came out on a presser and like, hey, why did you rehire Gregg? Well, he said yes. I would love that answer. That'd be a great answer because that would answer so many other things.
Brett, the other honest answer to that is honestly, if you listen to Betty, when he talks, he uses the same Gregg speak, right? The same language about culture and building a team that has and shares a common mission, vision, values, and goals.
We are going to change how the world views U.S. national team soccer.
Right. It's all the same shit. They're carved out of the same stone. They're carved out of the same stone lyrically, right? Yeah. Narrative-wise, mentally, they all use that same language. Can you imagine Jose Mourinho coming out and talking like that kind of jackassery, that kind of fairy shit? You think he would talk like that? No, he would not. When I say fairy, I mean imagination and Disney World shit. I want to be really clear about
Little
that.
Wings, you know?
Yes. Make-believe world. And that's what these guys live in. And Mourinho doesn't live in that world. He lives in like get results world. He doesn't live in a fairy tale world. All right. So
he's like, you want me to call a poo? No, we're not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, he's good. Well, we already talked about that. But the point is, like, there's a lot of shit that that U.S. soccer is foisted upon itself, right? And here Alexi says, I think U.S. soccer looked at the situation, I think they did, and anticipated criticism of hiring back Berhalter. You would think they'd be a little self-aware, so yes. And they decided that, given one of the weakest.
That's the part that I really wanted to highlight when I sent it to you. The weaker roster.
Yes,
but they couldn't inform us during the game time. Oh yeah, this is a C squad. This isn't even our A squad or even our B squad.
So they have been told by Fox executives at that channel they are not to refer to this team on air as the B team or a lesser team or a team of has-beens or a team of lesser thans. Yeah, lesser thans, never was. They're not allowed to even bring up the topic or breach it in any extensive way because they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose viewers. They don't want to. Now, they'll talk about the Jamaica team and how great they have all their fucking EPL players, right?
Yeah.
But they will not be real about what we do not have.
But Derek, this U.S. men's national team squad, this not a B, not a C squad, has 6, count them, 6 MLS All-Star players on it.
Past MLS All-Star players.
No, current. They've announced the All-Star roster already.
Well, they always give a few wankers a chance on that one. Probably the ones I can imagine. Roldan, Morris, right? A lot of Seattle fans voting.
I'll have to go back and take a look at that, but yeah. Tolkien's in there.
That makes sense. He's been pretty good for New York.
Zimmerman's in there.
Okay, that's fine.
Not on this roster.
Zimmerson's not on this roster. Long's not on that All-Star team, though. Better not be.
I'd have to go back and take a look at that, but yeah.
All right. And then he says, okay, so given a weaker U.S. men's national team playing in the Gold Cup, it was prudent, risking a poor tournament performance being the first thing attached to Berhalter's return. I have to break it to Lawless, though. The fans that already don't like Berhalter could give 2 fucks, because if he had a bad performance, they'd be like, see, he does suck. And we told you he sucks, and this team sucks. But a lot of us who are, I think, kind of telling it like it is would say, well, the team is god-awful. Of course they're going to get beat or tied by Jamaica. Of course they're going to lose to Mexico. Now they might beat Canada because Canada didn't bring their guys either.
Yeah, and it could have been a different thing that if he was announced as going to start coaching as of the Gold Cup, that it would have been his roster. Ergo, if he got a poor result, it would have looked bad on him regardless. But that's anything, right? Now, if he was just foisted upon this Gold Cup roster, then yeah, you have the excuse of saying, well, this wasn't my roster. I would have called this person or this person in instead, and it would have made a massive difference.
Yeah, I think that either way, if you already dislike Gregg, him getting smashed in this Gold Cup with this lesser than lineup, well, you would have just been like, yeah, that's what I expected. If you're a super hater of Gregg, I guess you could hate him more. I don't know how that's possible. But if you really like Gregg, you're going to already know what the reason is, right? He's not, this team sucks. It's not him. So, I mean, I get what Alexi's saying, and I can understand what he's saying because I can understand that the buffoons at U.S. Soccer would think that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. And he might even know something we don't.
Yeah. And I've talked with a number of people about this as as I quote tweeted Lawless on a couple of times. A lot of people are like, you realize this is just his opinion. I'm like, I think 90% of what he posts is his opinion.
Yeah.
I think there's 10% of being an insider, 90% Lawless, which is, I always talk about how Lawless has a higher end game of Twitter than most Twitter people. And I respect it.
Well, I can't tell
sometimes, but
yeah, I can't tell sometimes if he's being honest or not. But I don't think somebody said later on that he's being sarcastic. No, he's not. What he's saying here is absolutely what Lawless believes. This is not a sarcasm.
Yeah, that's bulk of what I say in most part is that I think everything that comes out of Lawless's mouth is exactly what it believes. Now, there's some sarcastic moments where he pokes fun at people, but it has nothing to do with soccer. Anytime he mentions soccer, I think he believes wholeheartedly what he's posting.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to Arturo here, who says this would be affirmation that U.S. Soccer knows that rehiring Gregg was not a good decision. How would it be that? How would it be affirmation?
Because of the scrutiny he would get from a portion of the audience if he did not succeed? Or if he
they knew they were going to get scrutiny, and he was going to get scrutiny regardless. Yeah. They should have known that. And I think they know it now. Sure. But it doesn't make it that doesn't tell them that this was a bad decision. What it does for them is say that this team sucks, and they know it sucks, and they do not want to subject Gregg to
blame
coaching.
USSF for calling these people in. Then, if that's the case,
well, this is all we got, Brett. We've named 3 or 4 other players from MLS that could be brought onto this team.
Yeah,
right. And others were left off who should have been there. Trusty, Brooks, right?
The people who aren't injured in Europe did not play Nations League. Or you could have taken the Nations League roster and the Gold Cup roster and basically said, well, this person's probably not going to see any playing time in those two games because we're probably going to play the same freaking starting 11 both games and probably bring in the same people in both games. So why don't we recall some of these people to be starters for the Gold Cup and you bring in the scrubs like the Aaron Longs, the Nations League, that will never see playing time. But then you could have brought in not McKenzie, because McKenzie has a dislocated shoulder, but you could have brought in a Brooks. You could have brought in any other number of players that we talked about that didn't play. I mean, you have help. How much did Richards really play in the Nations League? I'm already spacing it.
No, he played.
He played? Okay, good.
Yes.
Who didn't
Both
play
games.
From the...
I mean, I don't think it really matters.
Bring Trusty in for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, Trusty. You could have brought him in. But I think the point was, from what I understand, is that the European players all asked as a collective group for a break. They did not want to play Gold Cup. They were tired. They played a long season. They did not want to play both tournaments because that was the plan under Hudson. When Hudson said that, I believe the players said, no, that's not what we want to do.
But that leads into what I was saying. You look at who your starters are. You look at maybe who is the first option off the bench. Then you bring in the other people that you have brought in for Nations League, and you move them to the Gold Cup roster instead.
Like Taylor Booth and all those guys.
Yeah, and you fill in the scrubs from the Gold Cup in to fill in those roster spots that will never see playing time.
I think for a lot of guys like Taylor Booth and the younger guys, you also had, the situation where they were going back to, they're young, and they're going back to their clubs to keep their starting positions in the preseason. So, there's all kinds of things you could make.
Talking about a couple weeks difference there, but I guess the preseason does start here relatively soon.
Right after this. So they all wanted at least a couple weeks of just please go spend some time with your family and your friends, get away from soccer for a couple weeks and clear those cobwebs so you can get ready for the preseason that launches. There's barely a preseason in soccer anymore. And the seasons are long as fuck. So I can understand why the players want to break. And God help me when the Club World Cup starts and all that shit. We're adding all these tournaments and we're not taking any of them away. It's just going to get worse. Guys are going to want breaks. Gold Cup's going to become a second-rate trophy.
Already second-rate at this point.
It is. Nations League has eclipsed it already, which is sad since it's a FIFA-created tournament that is so ridiculous when it came out. We all knew that Gold Cup was a threat once that came out. We just knew it. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think that this is any affirmation that U.S. Soccer knows that rehiring Gregg was not a good decision. No, they think it's a good decision or else they wouldn't have done it, period. So some will argue that he was then the best bad option then. At this point, isn't a younger, more dynamic tactic manager the move to make if you're going to protect with kid gloves. Gregg's not old at all. He's not even 50. He's still considered a young manager. How much younger do you want to go here? How much younger are we looking at? Marsh is about the same age as Gregg. Who's the young guy? BJ Callaghan? You want to keep BJ? What's he, 37? I don't know. This post just misses the mark for me. No offense, Arturo.
I guess the overall idea in this sense is that if USSF is going to play with kids' gloves with Berhalter, they don't want the proverbial black eye from failing in a tournament on his first return. Then what was the point? I think quite frankly,
what's the point of hiring him? Because they wanted to hire him. He's the best guy as far as they're concerned going forward, and they don't want to blemish him in any way right off the bat. Although he's already blemished himself enough, but they don't want to start out with a fucking blemish. Start out with the second term with a black eye. I don't know how that doesn't make sense to people. It makes absolute sense.
That black eye could come at any point, though. I understand he's got a weaker side and everything. Yes, I know that. But still, the black eye could literally come at any point.
Wait, during Oman? After the Oman game? It's not going to come then. It's not going to come during Uzbekistan. It's not. The black eye ain't coming. It ain't coming.
Canada was losing to Guadalupe just a little bit ago.
No, we're not doing that with our best lineup. And when we go to Copa America, we're taking the best dudes.
Sure.
He's not going to get a black eye there unless we can't get out of the group stage, which he will. More than likely with that team, that A team. He should get out of the when they go.
Okay,
it's
then
right here in America.
That point would be if he can get out of the group with that team. Couldn't anybody get out of the group with that team? So
doesn't matter because Betty Crocker thinks that Gregg, who speaks and talks just like him, is the best guy for the job. And so does everybody else at U.S. Soccer who voted for him, except for one guy on the board. One dude who did not vote for him. We don't know who that guy is, and we want to know. So if you know, type us and let us know. Text us, type us. Yeah, get out a typewriter and write a letter and mail it to the Straight Red Card at 336 P.O. Box 28. What is this, the 80s, Derek? All right. You got anything else on this?
Yeah, his response.
Oh, no. This would be U.S. Soccer rightly recognized. I don't know about rightly. Why does he have to add the word rightly? Now he's adding a superlative that is a moral descriptor. It doesn't need to be rightly. He doesn't need to use rightly, but Alexi Lawless cannot help himself. He has to be the moral, the soothsayer of all things moral and things. He's got to be a pontificator. He's the pontiff, right? He's got to tell us what's right. All right. No, this would be U.S. Soccer recognizing that the decision to rehire Berhalter would not elicit universal praise, agreement, or acceptance. He's totally right. It didn't. I don't know about
but
the
it wouldn't
word
regardless.
rightly.
The thing. There wouldn't be universal praise, agreement, or acceptance. Regardless of whether it's Gold Cup or against Oman. It's not going to be universal. There are definitely people out there that are going to be pissed regardless. So I mean, I guess that's my argument there, is that it doesn't matter.
You're right. Because I think people that already hate Berhalter wouldn't give a fuck if we lost in the Gold Cup or not. They already hate him. What's the difference? I guess the point is, how many new haters are you going to get because he stinks it up at Gold Cup with a team that sucks? That's what they're thinking. They're thinking, all right, so then there's this other percentage of people that have still got an open mind. They're called casual fans, and they're going to be watching this Gold Cup. So there are a few things we don't want them to know. One, we don't want them to know we don't have our best team there. And number two, we don't want our coach there because we know we don't have our best team there. That's the basic premise of their decision making here. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't get any more complex. And we want to maintain at least that small chunk of people who haven't already designated Gregg a fucking loser, right? Or a schmuck. A schmuck would be, because he's not a loser.
A jabroni. We're taking that one back, Jake.
Yeah.
Ours now.
He's done a lot of winning, so he's not a loser, right? He's just not the most effective manager I've ever seen. And we've talked about the ways he's not an effective manager. Subs, formation, tactics, changing tactics in the middle of the game, changing formation.
Overall player management. That's
just making adjustments too during the game. Yeah. So he's not the best at any of that. System. And he's not even close to being the best at any of that, or even remotely. Hopefully he gets better at it because we've seen better examples from Hudson and BJ so far on subbing, managing games, and knowing when to switch formations to lock a game down. So hopefully he learned from his assistant coaches how to manage a team. That's what I hope happens. So they would rather let BJ sink or swim rather than, because BJ's got nothing to lose. What's BJ got to lose? So yes, they would rather let BJ sink or swim. And by the way, he ain't going to sink. If he loses here, BJ does, with this crummy team, everybody knows who knows anything about American soccer or the people out there who do hiring in MLS or whatever. They're going to know that BJ had a rough setup of players going into this tournament. They're not going to hold that against him.
Personally, I think if BJ ends up winning the Gold Cup, he has just as much of an argument as a quality of a coach as Berhalter has had, outside of maybe getting out of the group stage in the World Cup.
Yeah. Well, this is
He's already won Nations League. If he wins the Gold Cup, I mean, might as well just give him the World Cup at that point.
Might as well. The fucking Toronto FC should hire him tomorrow then at that case. But this is another example of one of those arguments on the Twitterverse. Nothing against you, Mr. Stuff, but that's a black and white argument. Like there is no such thing in this case for BJ of sinking or swimming. That is not; those aren't the two binary options in this case. All right, at all. That's not how this works. There is an option where this team doesn't do very well, and it has absolutely zero effect on BJ's career at all. And that's the most likely one. Okay, that's the most likely answer. It's not black and white. It's not zero. It's not zeros and ones. There are other options. All right, this isn't a computer we're living in here. It's a real world, and this isn't about sink or swim. That's all I'm saying. It's not for BJ. Shit, he's already proved with the A team what he can do. He fucking won the goddamn Nations League. What are you gonna shit on him because? Yeah, you're gonna shit on him because he can't win the Gold Cup with our C team? What the fuck was that? That would make no sense at all.
But I think to that point, most people would probably look at him if he failed in the Gold Cup the same way you and I had said that if Berhalter had failed the World Cup, that you'd look at the squad and say, well, this is a significantly weaker squad. You know,
you said Gold Cup, you said World Cup. You meant Gold Cup, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then make your point again, because I got screwed up by that, because I thought you were talking about the World Cup.
I said if BJ ends up failing in the Gold Cup, most people would look at it the same way that if say most, not all, of course. There are definitely Berhalter haters out there. But most people would look at Berhalter's loss in the Gold Cup as well because of the squad. You know, to your point, he's already shown what he can do with the A squad, and it was a convincing Nations League win compared to making the comparison between him and Berhalter compared to Berhalter,
you're right,
who scraped away a Honduras win and then went tit for tat with Mexico. Now, mind you, in Berhalter's defense there, this was an incredibly young squad. They've had 3 years of working together for the most part, and now we're starting to see the fruition there. So that's a perk in his side, feather in his side.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If Berhalter coaches this tournament, it's not going to change anything if they play horribly and lose. Because honestly, if we look at the players that are on this team, they are serviceable or inexperienced. They're serviceable MLS players, which doesn't mean anything as far as playing on an international level in CONCACAF. They're serviceable players. There are no superstars on this team. There are absolutely zero superstars. There are just superstars that could happen. Like Neil could become something special. Caden Cowell could be the next Jordan Morris +2.
I guess you could say, as far as superstars within the United States national team pool, you have Turner. Thank you. I was going to say that.
Yeah, right. And that's about it. But I mean, it's a goalie. It's a goalie.
Who else is going in there? It is all inexperience at that point.
Other than that, I don't think Tolkien's going to end up being a superstar. I could go through the whole lineup. I'm not going to do it.
No.
But I don't see any superstars on this team. Like Ferreira, already proven what he is. We know what he is. Yedlin, etc. I'm not going through the whole thing. So, yeah, listen, if I'm US Soccer, I make Gregg coach this team.
Yes.
I say, hey, we just hired you. You go out and fucking coach these guys the best you can. Half of them are dudes you love anyhow. Half of these guys are guys you've had butt sex with, so go out there and coach them.
Well, and like I said in response to somebody else, if Gregg were to coach and then go out, say in the quarters or the semis, all USSF has to say is, yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles, Yeah. You win some, you lose some. Well, let's move on to Oman and Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan.
Take it like a fucking what was that? A jabroni. Take it like a jabroni, motherfucker. And by the way, when I said he had butt sex with, that was a metaphorical comment. He hasn't literally had any anal sex with any of the players on the team. I say those kind of things metaphorically, so people,
If you guys want to take it literal, that's perfectly fine too. But it's all allegedly. We're not going to get labeled for this.
Yes. All I'm saying, he's very close to those players, if you know what I mean. Very close to those players. I don't think this is what they would do. It's more like, like that.
Yeah. Big spoon, small spoon, right?
All right.
Move on.
I think we're done with this, aren't we?
No. Look at my tabs. I got a bunch of stuff here pulled up.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You ramble. You ramble like a motherfucker.
Well, I don't know how much more of this weekend, like how many dimensions of this discussion there are.
Well, let's continue because it does have. I do have other aspects of this conversation.
Oh, so yeah, I'm supposed to read Alexi's newer comment.
Yeah.
He says, yes. Is that some way of belittling someone? Because, yes, because you're a dumbass. Of course, you protect the new head coach and try to put Berhalter in the best light possible. No, that's wrong already.
When does that happen
Brett?
at any point, though?
Yeah,
It doesn't happen anywhere.
That's not what they're trying to do at all. They're trying to protect him from the dark light getting any darker. Come on, that would have made more sense than light. There is no light here. There is dark. There's sort of a medium darkness right now about Berhalter being coached of this team again. What they're trying to protect them from is it getting any goddamn dimmer than it already is. If U.S. men's national team had a good Gold Cup, Berhalter was active behind the scenes. If U.S. men's national, now he's just making shit up.
No, this is important. This is important.
If the U.S. men's national team had a bad Gold Cup, Berhalter was hands off and can distance himself. Smart. No, that's all wrong. No one will believe any of that because either way, it's fabrication. Right? Either way, that's fabrication. Right? Because he did have a hand in a lot of these players becoming norms on the national team. So his hands are all over this team.
Cam Cupcake's all set 90% of that team up.
So he can't wipe his hands from it, Alexi.
But no, this is the thing, because here I go, BJ specifically stated that Gregg was not calling him up about rosters and lineups. Now Gregg is behind the scenes and will take credit if for good results, but no credit for a bad result.
No, he's going to take credit for bad results too, because these are his players.
You shouldn't take credit for any of the results, because this is in my opinion, because again, BJ is saying that Gregg has had no contact as far as the team is concerned. So this is solely on BJ. Now, if Gregg was coaching, that'd be on him. Right?
It's not solely on BJ in this indirect way. A lot of the players that BJ picked were the players that have had the most experience with this team that Gregg brought onto this team over the last 4 years and made them staples like Roman and Long and
100%.
I mean, we're talking about
I was just thinking it's like if we win the Gold Cup, that means Gregg did a good job from behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
But if we don't win the Gold Cup, then he's like, it's still on BJ.
I mean, this conversation could get metaphysical for Christ's sake, because there's so many dimensions to take into thought. Mm-hmm. Because there's the mental, there's the real, there's the imagined, there is the fans that hate, the fans that love. Yes, there are Berhalter lovers. Then there's everybody in between who's just seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
So, and I put us in the middle. We're not haters. We don't fucking hate Gregg.
We critique. We praise. We do both.
Right.
Now,
we have done both.
We might find that we critique more than praise because
we sure as hell have, because he's deserved a lot more criticism.
And we're not just blindly saying, "Oh God, we scraped away that 1-0. It's a great victory." That Honduras game, using that as a great example. Mm-hmm. We nearly lost that game. Nearly lost it. Sargent made a goal line save, and if it wasn't for a 86-minute goal by PFOC, who was a late sub in that game, it would have gone to PKs, and who knows what would have happened at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, lots of dimensions here. Stop. If Marsh, Henry, Curtin...
Sorry, I do want to hold on real quick.
Okay.
Bring this up.
Okay. Yeah. If that was, Chris says, if that was really the thought process behind all of it, then it seems painfully clear that it was time to move in a different direction and not return to Berhalter. Again, I don't know how that... It is painfully clear they should have moved on, but they didn't think it was painfully clear.
That's fine. Yeah, we covered... I want to set the grounds for what Lawless is about to say here.
Few coaching appointments would make everyone happy. One coaching appointment was going to make many fans mad. They knew that. U.S. Soccer are not that stupid. Hell, fucking the turd. Michael Cameron knows his nickname is the turd. They know what's going on out here, folks. All right? They're listening. Even to our show, apparently. They have heard of our show. All right? They know if you have 3,000 people watching your show, or 2,700 or 800 or whatever the fuck it is now, that's still a pretty significant chunk of people who are out on the Twitter sphere who are passing along these ideas to other people. So they pay attention, and they know there is unhappiness amongst mostly the independent media and content makers out there. Of course, they've got the normal mainstream media by the dick and balls. They can't say anything we say. All right, so they're worried about us, not us specifically, but us as the the universe of content makers, right?
Yeah,
because we talk to the people and they talk to us. And then Alexi says, stop. If Marsh, Henry, Curtin, Cherundolo, Vieira, etc. had been hired as the coach, then US Soccer decided to hold off on having them coach the team until after the Gold Cup. Nobody would have said anything. Well, nobody would have said anything because they've never been the fucking coach before. And none of these guys on the C team are the guys that Vieira, Marsh, Henry, or Curtin, or Cherundolo are going to coach. They're not coaching any of these turds. Sorry, shouldn't call them turds. These lesser players, they're going to be coaching the A team pretty much from here until the World Cup, because that's what's got to happen. We got to build chemistry. So this is like the last breath, the last fart out of a dying boar's ass for a lot of these players. There are a few who'll go through, maybe Kate Cow. We don't know who's going to, continue forward.
You may actually come to a slight disagreement with what I responded here, because I said we've been questioning why we have wasted 2 tournaments before Gregg was announced. And if USF came out and said Henry or Marsh, etc., will start after the Gold Cup because we don't want them to have a bad result to start their tenure due to a weaker Gold Cup roster, there would be criticism on USSF.
You'd be right if they used that as the excuse that they didn't want him to have a bad result.
Well, that's the whole point with Gregg, right? I mean, that's what Lawless is saying. And he's specifying, well, nobody would bitch about it if it was somebody else, but because it's Gregg, you got to bitch about it. And I'm saying, no, we would still have questions, and the criticism would still fall on USSF, and that's who it's falling on now. Nobody's bitching about Gregg not coaching. They're bitching, why isn't Gregg coaching? It's not a criticism on Gregg. It's a criticism on the federation.
But the excuse would have been more believable, right? Well, we're not going to have Thierry Henry, or excuse me, let's use Patrick Vieira. We're not going to have Patrick Vieira coach the C team because he ain't going to be coaching the C team going forward. And he's never worked with these players. And by the way, there's a week to go before the tournament. And he has no time to prepare for it. So, whereas Gregg knows all these dudes.
Yeah.
So he should be able to hop straight in and coach this shit with his eyes closed.
So I've got a big question for you on this front. Why announce it on the Mexico game in Nations League? Why not?
Because it got leaked.
Oh, well, I mean, everything gets leaked. It's never official until it's official.
No, it got officially leaked by somebody, Paul Tenorio, wasn't it? That no one doubts.
It's true. He did specify that, didn't he? He basically said that Gregg was coming back as coach.
And everybody
maybe it was a jump after that point. You follow that shit up a little bit better, man. The same thing happens all the time, it seems like.
Some people consider Paul Tenorio like a U.S. soccer insider rat. Like he knows somebody deep in there who is pumping him all kinds of shit. Usually it's somebody from the marketing department, unfortunately, pumping him full of bullshit on certain particular issues, like the Reina issue, right?
I'm going to skip this topic because it just highlights that he mentions that this is a quote-unquote U.S. men's national team B team. But I won't go into that. I did want to bring this up real quick because this was kind of funny.
Okay.
So this is ESPN's coverage after the U.S. men's national team Jamaica 1-1 game here. So I got to cut back and go to audio here.
Ooh.
So let's get audio, pull this up.
Turk.
And company. But yeah, let's see what they have to say about this.
He couldn't even to coach his team in this tournament. So what are you playing for? If that's the case, well then, yes, the journey, the destination, all that good stuff, that narrative they're trying to sell. Do it right.
So he says, do it right. Basically, it's like, why isn't he coaching his team? He's talking about Berhalter. He's like, why this was his team. Why isn't he coaching it? Blah, blah, blah. But what comes after this is the best part of this whole thing.
This is Burley?
Yeah.
Greatest job in the world, isn't it, at the moment? Hey, Gregg's there like that.
It's so true.
Michael not playing very well. Where's the coach? No, who knows? He's just having a wee. He's got his feet up.
It's all about the journey. All about the journey to the World Cup.
It's not just BJ Callaghan. I don't know the man. It's just coach speak in general now drives me absolutely nuts.
Thank you, Greg.
It's to try and baffle those out there
We're
that are
idiots.
not
We're
particularly
fools.
We're not
bright
baffled by
and
it.
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And it kind of works with some, but unfortunately for most of us that have been over.
He couldn't even.
Basically, he was saying that this whole rigmarole confuses some people, but the rest of us see through it and call it out for what it is.
Oh, you know the 10% that buy totally into this. You see them on Twitter. They're the guys that their throat is so sore from sucking Gregg's cock. They can barely fucking speak, so all they can do is tweet. Those people have bought all this shit about the journey, about the culture, and all this other jackassery, hook, line, and sinker. Soccer is just as much of an art as it is a philosophy or a dogmatic, bunch of dots on a board you can control. It's also an art. And until we understand that, we got to get away from all this boxed in language that we're using, like my system. Well, fuck your system.
Exactly,
That's the first thing I think. It's like, fuck you. This should be an art as well as a system. Anyhow, I don't want to go off on that again.
Let's finish this topic on just a couple of fun little posts here.
Okay.
So I said, I think there needs to be an artist rendition of Gregg as a puppeteer and BJ as the puppet. The next slide shows U.S. men's national team losing Gold Cup and Gregg cutting the strings.
Yeah, you're being a little dramatic there. You're buying into that sink or swim thing there.
I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having fun.
I know you're kidding, but
so I dabbled. I had fun. I had a little bit of time on my hands, and I was like, you know what? I think AI could probably generate this. So I typed in Gregg Berhalter as a puppeteer cutting the strings of his puppet, because I didn't think they were going to have BJ Callaghan on AI anywhere. How are you going to generate that from pulling up things on Google and shit like that?
Yeah, no shit.
So I put that, and you know what? It actually came out okay.
Really? That's horrifying. That is absolutely horrifying. AIs need some help.
Oh, but I thought they got Gregg's look down proper.
Oh my God. Come on, dude. That looks like Gregg with Klinefelter syndrome. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
All right. That is fucked up.
Oh, got to bounce pass it over here.
Gencraft, huh?
That was fun. That was a fun little time.
They made Berhalter like 80.
I went through a couple of different. This is impressionist. This is art, Derek. This isn't realist.
This is like
it's as if Berhalter's like melting. It looks like almost.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's weird. Shit, AI's weird.
It's in the works, but it's
okay.
It's a step in the right direction.
I'd say keep working on it.
Yeah, I mean, you get those hands, especially, man. What the hell, man? Look at that shit.
He's got 3 hands.
Yeah.
In what world does AI figure out that this dude has 3 hands?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's weird.
Yeah. All right. Either way, that's my AI attempt. Very limited basic knowledge I have of AI, or you just punch in a bunch of words and shit pops up.
Yeah.
This is the last little meme that somebody had posted.
MLS quota, the system, Aaron Long, Gregg's lineups, toxic fans, losing in semifinal. Oh, he's protecting Gregg from all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's all right. I get it. But in the end, I would have to say, on a scale of 1 to 10 for Alexi Lawless, although I was critical of some of the language he used, I don't think this is his worst take ever. I think there is definitely an element of protecting Gregg for any more stains before he takes over and coaches against Oman and Uzbekistan. Why do you think they pick Oman and Uzbekistan? So Gregg can
Everybody
come
else
back.
is busy, Derek. Those are the only people who are available to play us.
Right. So Gregg can come back in what's the song? In a rage of glory. No, what's the song by Bon Jovi? In a something of glory. Come on. Bon Jovi.
We're halfway there. Living on a prayer.
No, not living on a prayer. Something back in a stage of glory or something of glory. Ah, fuck.
Oh man, Canada tied Guadalupe. Like final time too.
I know. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Yeah. And now we got Guatemala and Cuba. This should be a closer one. All right. So that's it for tonight. I think we're done, right?
Yeah. Segment was a little longer than expected.
Oh yeah, it was. That's probably my fault. I apologize.
We like to ramble.
I got irritated a few times. And when I do, you know what I do when I get irritated. I just babble.
I will also go on the record and simply state that I wasn't necessarily disagreeing with Lawless's point that he was making. I was disagreeing with certain aspects of the narrative that gets pushed, and then he says the quiet part out loud. You know?
Right. And I'm not agreeing that that's the right thing for U.S. Soccer to do, by the way. I think Gregg should have had to lie in the bed he's made, which is all of the players, most of the players on this team are players he he fondled publicly, verbally for so long. And he should have to sleep in that bed that he made. That's
on the fly transfer news. Doodaloot.
Gladbach want Brandon Vasquez. As terms replacement. Oh, come on. They flew to Cincinnati to watch him and went to his house to burn it down. I mean, to present team project. Personal terms agreed. Offer sent. Okay, we'll say. So
no sale. Yeah,
no sale.
No sales of yet.
Yeah. Well,
since he just got rid of their other striker, right? I forgot his name.
He's not going to start right away. I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think.
But he'll get opportunities. And if he makes the most of those 10, 15 minutes he gets and the other guy can't score, then he will eventually start. So we'll see. I'm not shitting on Brandon's parade here because I don't know.
Take it. If he gets it, he needs to take it.
I don't know how good he can be. I honestly haven't been able to figure out his ceiling at all at this point.
Yeah.
And that's because he's playing in MLS and he dominated last year and he's not doing so right now. And is he just going through a shitty time period? Is he not getting the same service he got last year? I'm not sure. I don't watch all the Cincy games.
Made the transfer of the one dude. He's starting to get more. He's starting to get more goals and everything. So he's got like 7 or 8 goals now. So either way, moving on.
Oh,
end of the show.
All right, end of the show. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. All those good things. And we will be back on Thursday with a live show with a review of the game. Versus St. Kitts. Should be lovely.
Hopefully we'll find other topics too.
Right. Exactly. I would hope. Until the next time on the Straight Red Card, we'll see you soon.
That hurt.
I'm tuned in like crazy, and I'm pretending like I know what they're doing, and I'm,
The articulate and intelligent.
Gregg's a bitch. That's all.
I find them offensive as hell.
I've never been a fan.
Yeah, fuck that.
Ooh, terrible. Bad, not bad. Oh, pretty good. Okay, decent, fair, great. I love this. Go,
This sucks. Yeah, you really gotta wonder how this stuff gets made.